I'd like to call to order the Common Council meeting for May 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. Attendance roll call.
Alderpersons Wolf.
Here.
Hamel.
Here.
Terrence is not here. Kapusta.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
Kubaki.
Here.
Madden. We have
Here.
a quorum present.
Thank you. Statement of public notice.
The meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Public comment. This is your opportunity for anyone from the public to speak on any agenda item. If you're here to, if you filled out this form and you're here to speak on the public hearing items, I'll call you up at that time, which looks like pretty much everyone that filled out either one of the slips is for that. However, if there's something else on the agenda you'd wish to speak on, come forward, give your name and address. Going once, twice, all right. Moving on, communications from the mayor's office. I gave you the update on the dredging for the lakes, or I mean for the boat launches. I was in Madison all day today for local government day that the league puts on. Interesting day. It also coincided with the Senate's public hearing on shared revenue. So I sat through that and I'm pretty confident one way or another something's going to get passed that would increase our state aid by approximately $600,000. Right now we get about $400,000, so it's going to double it. It's a couple-year Band-Aid that'll help us in the budget, but it's not a long-term solution, but I'll take what they got. So, and happy Memorial Day to everyone, and thank you to all the veterans for their service coming up this weekend. Public hearing. A public hearing to consider the petition of Patrick J. Thies of PJ Trucking concerning the area described as tax key number 2260998-002 located at South 99 West 12707 Loomis Drive to be granted a rezoning from B4 Highway Business District to M1 Light Industrial District for the purposes of allowing a trucking terminal / business. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor mentioned, this is for PJ's Trucking. This is the location of the nursery that used to be down there on Loomis Drive. PJ bought the property a little bit ago. The plan is to do his full trucking use on that property. You may remember he previously came for a rezoning for a property at the southwest corner of Highway 36 and North Cape Road for doing something similar but on a smaller scale. I think he since realized this other property was a better fit for him, which I would agree with, and as such is looking at using his business operations on this new site on Loomis Drive. Currently it's zoned B4 Highway Business District, and the comprehensive plan mirrors that, showing commercial uses, and the rezoning request is the light industrial because that's needed because there will be a trucking element as part of this on Loomis Drive there. The M1 district allows minimum lots of 40,000 square feet, which this lot more than exceeds, and they're not looking at doing any splits as part of it, with a minimum width of 150, which it also exceeds. Like I said, the use would be for truck parking and storage and some other storage of products that PJ does as part of his business hauling. As I mentioned, the comprehensive land use plan is proposed being changed from commercial to industrial as part of this. This area itself was never shown as industrial on the plan, but just to the south of it, kind of basically between here and the landfill, was always shown on the plan as a possible industrial, just because not a lot of other users want to be by landfills, so why not have industry that's not bothered by them? So I think it's a natural kind of transition, and I think this site is a much better fit than the site that was right on Loomis Road. You'll see in your packets, there's kind of a narrative describing what PJ was looking at, along with a site plan. Everything's going to kind of be on the back portions of the site.
Thank you. Anyone from the public that wishes to be heard on this item, please step forward, give your name, address. Anyone from the council that wish to say anything? Seeing no one coming forward, I'll declare this public hearing closed. Moving on, public hearing to consider the petition of Jared Burbach from Burbach Builders concerning the area described as tax key number 2258.996.006 located at Loomis Road and Country Club Lane, vacant lot, to be granted a rezoning from RM1 multiple family resident district and B4 highway business district to PD planned development district based on the RM3 multiple family resident district for the purposes of allowing 9 future two-family condos totaling 18 units. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So as was mentioned, this is rezoning on the west side of the newly built-out Country Club Lane that leads into Muskego Lakes Country Club Golf Course. The rezoning is going from RM1, which is a multifamily zoning. Right now, RM1 is our most intense multifamily district. It allows up to 16 units in a single building and a density of 5,000 square feet per unit. And then a small portion of the property closer to the road, I'll make it a note, is probably much an unusable portion, is zoned currently as B4 Highway Business District as part of a really old plan that was out there before. They're looking at rezoning the planned development district under the RM3 zoning. RM3 is our least intense multifamily district. It restricts it to 2-unit buildings and nothing larger, and it maximum density, or the density required per unit, is 10,000 square feet. So they're definitely, you could almost say, down zoning, what their proposal would be here. And the reason they're asking for the planned development, which is the intention of that in our code is to allow flexibility within the district, is this lot is wooded. It is shown as a higher quality conservation or preservation area in the city on our conservation maps. While we can't prohibit development altogether in this area, we want to do it in a smarter way if possible. So in working with the applicant, they came through our plan commission previously for a conceptual discussion, and the mutual agreement was the idea of pushing the buildings a little closer to the road. So instead of a 40-foot setback, they'll have a 30, and the reason behind that is to limit the impact of the trees. You know, these buildings won't have big open backyards. At our plan commission meeting, there will be more detailed plans that actually show like construction details to help solidify what those building pads will look like. As part of it, they're showing a total of 9 buildings with 2 units in each building for a total of 18 units on about 20.7 acres. And the comprehensive plan for this area is currently identified as high-density residential and commercial, and they're actually downgrading that. They're requesting to go to a medium-density residential, which their density would fit with it.
So Adam, just to be clear, if they didn't ask for the rezoning, they could still do the buildings, but they would just have to be farther back and more trees would be cut down.
Correct.
Okay.
There would probably be a question of how many, they necessarily not more density, but yes, I would agree with that for sure.
Anyone from the public that would like to be heard on this, I have a list, so we'll start off that, and then if you're not on the list, if you could just follow suit and come forward. First person I have is, all right, Mr. Singh, I'm going to mess up your first name, so. If you could just state your name and address, that'd be great.
Yes, so my name is Jojanjeet Singh, and I'm the owner of Muskego Lakes Country Club. I brought some pictures for you, but I just didn't know how many of you are there, so I might have to share.
We can share.
So as I said, I'm the owner of Muskego Lakes Country Club, and I'm here to express my concerns about the rezoning of the neighboring property to build condos. Before I begin, I want to say that I'm happy to see the development happening around the golf course and the potential for future businesses. I welcome new residents and customers to our neighborhood and our golf course. However, I have some concerns about this particular proposal, and I would like to share with you. I oppose this rezoning proposal because it will have negative impact on my business, my property, and the safety of the community. I have 6 main points to share with you. First of all, the part of the parcel that is subject to rezoning is supposed to be transferred to me in a land swap when I bought the golf course. About 2 acres from that, what's supposed to quit deed to us, it's still not updated on the county website, and the tax keys have not been changed yet. I have contacted the city and county multiple times to resolve this issue, so I ask that you resolve it before you move forward with any decision pertaining to this parcel. Secondly, I am worried about the houses getting hit by golf balls, especially the condos getting built in the cul-de-sac. I saw that on the plans. A lot of golfers with the bad slice end up finding their balls in the area where the cul-de-sac is proposed to be built. I'm having similar issues with the homeowners who just built their house by the second hole. They built in on a risky surface, which is kind of facing the second tee box, and they are already getting hit by golf balls multiple times. So these kind of issues pose serious risk of injury and property damage to the future residents, and it could also put me in a kind of future liabilities. So I ask that you consider that when you are looking at the plans. Our patrons and members have also enjoyed the view of these woods. When they come in to drive, they like to see how the woods look. When they are at the clubhouse, when they see the 18th hole, it looks really nice right now. With all these cul-de-sac coming in, a lot of those trees will be gone. So I hope that when you're looking at the plans to make sure most of those trees are preserved. This is a prime spot for our couples when they go and take their wedding pictures. So because it looks very nice by the pond. So I hope we preserve the beauty of the area. The trees and the animals are part of the natural beauty and heritage of our golf course. So I ask that you look at a plan where you don't build that cul-de-sac, and that area should not be built upon, and those trees should be kept. Thirdly, the pond on the 18th fairway already overflows due to the culvert being built. When the corner store development came, they put a culvert there into the pond. In the spring, when it rains, it fills up to our fairways. With this new development happening, I'm worried that it might worsen it. So I hope that you consider that when you're looking at it. The houses that are built on the other side by the first green, in this spring, all the area around the green has been flooded. It's still not as good because of how dry the weather is. It's still flooded. We can't allow the golf carts there still. So I hope that you consider that when you're looking at the proposals. Fourthly, we had to wait almost a full year last year for the road to be done. Our business suffered immensely because of the conditions of the road and how hard it was to get to and from the golf course. Now I hear the road will be dug up again. This will be the second time the road will get dug up and redone in a year. This is a waste of money and resources and affects my business immensely. I implore that you find a different way to approve the construction without getting the road redone. Fifthly, the another problem that I heard the plans by the previous ownership was they wanted to build a road around the golf course to get to the property that they have on the other side of the golf course that is landlocked right now. That could be a good potential for future development and the growth. If this proposal goes through, I don't know how they will be able to build a road there. And finally, I'm concerned about the driveways coming into the country club lane. We have a lot of traffic coming into that road during the golf season. Some days with morning and evening events, we have almost 500 cars come in. This will only increase with people moving into Glen and Muskego Lakes. We also have delivery trucks passing there on regular basis. I am concerned about the safety of our patrons, future residents, and the children living in the proposed condos. Because of how busy this road is, you cannot allow any street parking there. There are no plans of any street parking for the guests when they visit the condos. I suggest to build a separate road for the condos so that cars can back up from their driveways safely and guests have a room to park as well. And this will also save the problem of not digging up the road again. I have conveyed all these concerns with Jared Burback and Mark Krause, and I plan to reach out to Wendy Burke with the same. I will send all these points to you in writing as well. In conclusion, I urge you all to listen to my voice as a business owner who will be affected by the rezoning proposal. I ask you to consider other options that would be more compatible with our neighborhood and help preserve the integrity of my business, my property, and our community. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you. Stephen, Lisa. Yes.
Yeah, we're residents of the,
Can you just state your name and
yeah,
address
Steve
for the record?
Wolfgang, West 139, South 9979 Jade Drive, which is the condo complex just to the east of the subject property. I guess I'd echo some of the comments just made. Per the plans I've seen, there are going to be 13 driveways proposed for Country Club Lane. And right now, there aren't any, and some issues like parking come to mind for me, as well as just, the road's in great shape now based on what Cornerstone has done to redo the road and utilities and so on. So first off, you got a construction phase, it's gonna tear up everything again, right? And future, you're gonna have cars that have really no place to park other than short driveways because of the reduced setback from the road. The rules and regulations within our condo complex don't allow any kind of transient hoteling. So no Airbnb, no verbal, things like that. Got a 90-day minimum stay, so there isn't a lot of transient or no transient traffic there. I don't know what that situation would be for this new complex. If they're allowing 3-day, 2-day stays, you have a lot of transient traffic. Safety issue for me. And also our association does not allow any kind of businesses to be run from the condos. And I'm not sure, again, if that would be the situation with the proposed development. So those are kind of my comments, most from a safety and traffic perspective.
Okay, thank you. Stephen, I'm having problems reading the handwriting. Pavlak? Yes. Oh, you're right, I'm sorry. Warren Whalen, or I'm sorry, John Whalen. Warren. Hi, John, sorry.
Oh,
Good evening, everybody. So John Whalen, South 99, West 13956 Clubhouse Court. That would take you to our model. Some of you, maybe all of you are aware, I have Cornerstone Development, and we're building the condominiums that are currently on the east side of the drive we're referring to. I want to make it real clear that I welcome competition, and I'm not standing here as a result of trying to prevent competition in any way. As a matter of fact, I'm coming up with some ideas here, especially competition with good builders like these guys. They do a nice job. They build a really nice home. You're lucky to have them in Muskego, and I look up to them. But I think this plan has got some tweaking that's really needed, some of which you've heard already. Although I find it curious, my tweaking would be to, when you come up, when you're coming up the main drive, just where you would turn right to go into to our place, turn left, and have a separate drive created within the trees. So you don't take the Disney effect of driving and escaping to a golf course. I mean, Walt Disney did it exactly right down Walt Disney World. When you go into the world, all you're doing is driving through all kinds of evergreen trees, and up and down you go, and then you're in a new place. That's what Joe Jan has at his golf club, and I think it's phenomenal. You carve all that up, and you put driveways that lead to what? A garage door. You will see garage door, front door, garage door, front door, garage door, front door. That whole drive will just get emaciated. Put a drive, drop them back. Take the setback further and put a drive that feeds off of it and just runs north-south and keeps the perimeter, the trees that are along the roadway. And I think you'll still be able to accomplish a similar thing. And you could have it exit up near, my Chuck Way on the north side. So you'd have an in on the south side and out on the north side. And you wouldn't have people backing up, and we've heard this before. I think that's probably my number one concern. Backing onto that driveway, I mean, the roadway, I mean, I've seen some cars coming out of the club, and I don't think that would end well for a number of them. So those are the main concerns I have. Again, I welcome the competition. In many respects, it's a nice location and would fit real well, but you just, if you can preserve trees, keep them back. He's got a nice looking product. That'll look fine. Let's just avoid taking those driveways right onto the main drive and utilizing some of the views that they can get further and deeper into the site. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard on this matter? Going once, twice. The public hearing is closed. I should mention that this, along with is this later on the agenda, I believe? Yeah, I believe the first reading of this will be discussed later on. Moving on, public hearing to consider the petition of MSI General on behalf of Inpro Corporation concerning the areas described as tax key numbers 2225984 located at South 80 West 19025 Janesville Road, 2225.985 located at South 79 West 18997 Janesville Road, 2225.986 located at South 79 West 18953 Janesville Road, and 2225.999.014 located at South 79 West 18975 Janesville Road, be granted a rezoning from B2 Local Service Center District and RS2 Suburban Residence District to PD 45 Inpro Plan Development District based on B2 Local Service Center District for the purposes of allowing expansion of the Inpro campus, including parking lot and future office building. Boy, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, right. Adam. Thank you, Mayor. So as you all know, Inpro is one of our large employers here in our business park across the street. And throughout the years, they've expanded not only their main campus building, but some other buildings within the park. Their most recent bigger project was their office building that's right on the corner there on the entry off of Janesville Road to the park. Inpro, as we kind of proceed down the road from that location, they do not own the vet clinic that's there. That's not going anywhere. But they own the next 4 properties, basically between the vet clinic and the car wash. And as part of that ownership of those 4 lots, their plan is thinking future expansion. And they're kind of doing that expansion in phases. So this rezoning would rezone those 4 lots in that section there that are listed in the notice, would rezone those 4 to plant and development district that is already in existence. So a bunch of the Inpro office building, the main Inpro manufacturing building already have this plan development zoning. Plan developments are ideal when you have larger kind of multi-building complexes and things like that. So they're asking for basically expanding the existing district that already exists. The properties that are there now, some of them are zoned B2, which is a local service center commercial. Some of them are currently zoned RS2 suburban residence. The city's future long-term land use plan has, for many, many years, accounted for this entire side of the road as well as the homes across the street as having commercial potential long-term. Now, that doesn't mean that anyone ever has to sell for commercial if they don't want to, but the long-term plan always showed that as a goal as it's along Janesville Road, our major commercial corridor. So basically looking at filling that gap on the south side of Janesville Road. As part of the plan development, the first phase is really just going to be a parking lot with some associated landscaping. As part of that parking lot plan, they will have to handle stormwater management on site, so water runoff will not be an issue. I think they're going to do underground as they did in their office building already. They are going to have to remove 1 home as part of this, but 2 other homes and Wisco carts are still going to stay there at this time. Those users all have leases that will stay there at this time. And then this eventual second phase would be doing another office building there on the front portion of the site. At that time, when that would come forward, that would be a separate request. They may want some setback waivers and stuff with that, but that's a separate plan at a separate time that won't happen at least for a few years from what we've heard. But this rezoning would give it that plan development, and it does currently follow our comprehensive plan, as I mentioned, having the future commercial uses.
Thank you. Steve, now you can come up. Just state your name and address for the record.
South 80 West 19020 Janesville Road, straight across the street from the property in question. I just have questions on how it's going to affect the property that's already there. The traffic on Janesville Road is already extremely busy. You can't back out on Janesville Road as it is. Adding an office building is going to increase your traffic. Not only that, what do the homeowners there have to look at now? You know, instead of residents, you're putting up a commercial office building. I just have a lot of concerns about that, and I have none of the people that live in that area have any information what the project is going to be. I think we'd all like more information as far as like where the parking lot's going to go, where the office building is going to go. how it's gonna be handled. That's all I really have to say off the top of my head.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter?
My name is Roger Zindler, South 80 West 19050 Janesville Road. I'm directly across the street from the proposed area. And I'd like to ask somebody, how is Janesville Road going to be impacted? Is there going to be expansion of Janesville Road? Are there going to be turn lanes? Are there going to be 4 lanes added? I mean, how are they going to handle all the extra traffic?
I'll just state, with a public hearing, we're not allowed to converse backwards. The information's coming from you of what your concerns are. This will be brought up later in the agenda, and then we can have more discussion amongst ourselves.
Tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you share your concerns, Adam's writing down everything, and then we can discuss it at that point. But otherwise, we can't do a dialogue back and forth at this point.
All right, thank you.
Would anyone else like to be heard on this matter? Seeing no one come forward, I declare this public hearing closed. As I stated, these agenda items are later on the agenda for discussion in the first reading of the ordinance change. Moving on, consent agenda. Approval of vouchers are on the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Wolf. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. New business, there is none. Review of committee reports in front of you. You have committee of the whole minutes from February 28th, 2023, and the finance committee minutes from April 25th, 2023. First reading of ordinance and second reading if rules are waived. Ordinance 1487, an ordinance to amend Chapter 229 of the Municipal Code of the City of Muskego, low-speed vehicles. Any information needed for the second reading on this? This is just that change from allowing low-speed vehicles, golf carts, whatever, going from 25 to 30. They're allowed to do that now. As long as it's a straight cross, they're not allowed to like that, but. Any other? All right. Ordinance 1488, an ordinance to amend the zoning map and 2020 comprehensive plan of the city of Muskego B4 to M1/PJ's Trucking. Any questions before Adam comes through and? All right.
As is the case with this one, as all the others, they will be on the first Tuesday, June, I think it's June 6th, Plan Commission meeting. So there'll be a lot more discussion and a lot more detail for some of these projects brought forward then.
Thank you. Ordinance 1489, an ordinance to amend the zoning map and 2020 comprehensive plan of the city of Muskego RM1 and B4 to PD/Burback Builders Iron Oaks Condos. Questions for Adam before he goes through his list of answers?
How far back will the condominiums that are on that cul-de-sac be near that pond that's partially filled with my golf balls?
From the pond, I can tell you that the lot line roughly follows the tree line, and they're showing at least a 30-foot offset from the tree line edge. I don't have the construction plans with me, but we do have those in our office that anyone is welcome to come look at anytime, and they will be as part of the Plan Commission packet. That we could probably scale off of and get an exact number. I didn't have those when the packet was put together. We do have them now, though. But at least from the back of the buildings to the tree line, which, you know, the tree line's a little distance from the pond, that's at least a 30-foot offset. That's the required minimum.
Okay. So am I correct to say that the majority of those trees will be kept?
The ones that are between the units and the course, I think we're going to we'll have to look at the construction plans, but I think we'll try to encourage as much as can be kept to be kept because we want a buffer too. I would think anyone would want the buffer. I'd have to look at the construction plans. Like I said, that's not typically a rezoning topic. That's more of a site design topic, which that's more of a plan commission thing anyway. And like I said, I don't have those plans in front of me.
Okay. Another question. What John Whalen brought up as far as a service road or something, is that possible?
It defeats the staff direction because the staff direction was reducing the setback, not increasing it. There was a plan proposed by a different developer years and years ago that was to develop homes in all these woods, and didn't receive good conceptual feedback because the idea was preserving as many trees as possible. You know, if it even saves a few more trees, that's typically the goal. So if you were to do a service road, that would be a significantly different impact to the tree because the idea was pushing the buildings back because you have to have space for the road and then keeping some trees along the road in the case of what was mentioned by some of the residents. So that would be a significantly different impact than the city's conservation goals are.
Would it be a swap almost, though? I think the way he was describing, instead of taking the trees instead of saving the trees in the back, you'd be saving them in the front.
Well,
You
got
still
the
have to
road
have a
too.
setback from that road. So the question is it a condo road or is it right away? You still have to have parking in their driveways. Our ordinance requires them. That was one of the questions was parking. Their driveways will the ordinance says 2 guest stalls. So each unit, I think, has 2 stalls, if I'm correct. 2, attached garage stalls. Yeah. They have to have at least 2 guest stalls per unit. Their driveways will hold a lot more than that. Probably at least 4 to 6 the way that they're scaling out. So if you were to, you still want to keep that driveway parking. So inherently the units are going to have to get pushed back if you put call it a frontage road in there. It could be an option, but it's definitely not the direction they were given from any of their previous comments that plan or anything because there was an emphasis on impacting the trees as little as possible.
The question was just asked so we could clarify it, that's why.
Yeah. My question is the numerous driveways, if some of those driveways in those 2-family units can be combined?
They could be. The building design is as such where it's like butterflied, where the driveways are on the ends. Maybe they do a slightly bit different building design. It would make more sense to have the driveways, the garages closer if you're going to start having shared driveways.
Housing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, that definitely could though be something.
But you're talking about saving the trees, so once somebody buys the property, they don't have to save the trees.
Yes, they do.
They
If they're in a
do.
preservation easement, this is a condo, especially a condo. Someone in a condo complex can't start cutting down trees in a condo as they're a common element to the condo, but everything around these buildings will have a geographically defined building pad, and there'll be a defined preservation area, and there'll be a preservation or conservation easement put on all the trees that have to stay preserved. So yeah, they definitely could not cut them down.
Actually, I thought the owner of the club brought up a lot of great concerns. I did like the separate road idea. The first thing that jumped out at me when I looked at this was all the driveways on the road. And if there's no parking on the road, you're gonna have to sign it, right? I mean, no one will know you can't park on the road.
As we do with any road you can't park on. Most city roads are not marked no parking.
That's what I'm saying. So people could park there then and not know there's no parking?
Correct. If there's not signed, it's allowed to be
Right.
parked on.
So
And
then
if-
now we got ugly signs hanging up all over the place. The other thing that you brought up is all the golf balls hitting the houses. Now, who takes responsibility for that? Is that the person hitting it? Is it the homeowner? I mean, how does that work if it's too close?
You're responsible for your ball.
You're responsible.
And I can tell you
gotta
that
figure out
in-
who the heck hit it then,
And I can
okay?
tell you in the St. Andrews condos, which are the newest units on the north side of the course, any unit that faces the golf course is required to have tempered glass windows. So if a window faces the course, that's something our building inspectors have been requiring
Makes
for
sense.
years and would continue to require, only on windows facing the golf course.
Well, I would think if you're building a golf course, you might end up with something in your property sooner or later. But anyway, we just redid the road there, or somebody just did, right? Is that a private road?
No, it's public.
Public road?
It became public as part of that
And
improvement.
we're gonna rip that up and do it again. Is that part of this construction? Is that what I understand from
That
the
would be
conversation?
that would be a Scott question. There has to be a sewer and water extension as part of this. Way outside my wheelhouse. From what I've heard, there's different ways to do it. And one of the ways was talked about was having it in the road. There's some significant utility benefits to having utility in a road versus outside of it. But that would be something that is that's not a BSO topic. That is not a rezoning topic. That's a construction topic, which would come up as part of the engineering review at a much
I'm just
further
wondering
date.
the cost of redoing all this that we just did.
It's on the developer.
Yeah, there's
Not
no
a
cost to the city or
developer.
taxpayers.
And then when they did shut the road down last time, he said it affected his business. Was it accessible? Were you able to use it at all, or was it just shut down?
You either, keep in mind, the developer did it, it wasn't a city closing or anything, but you either had access straight through and maybe it was through a construction zone, or for a while, I believe they were snaking through the Glen and
Detour.
Muskego Lakes condo complex and coming through. I think they kind of had to do it in pieces because of that.
You know, I just feel for him for his business, so I just questions on that. He did mention flooding. Is that caused by the construction or is it just natural area out there? I mean, do we know any of that?
That would be an engineering question. You'd want to talk to Scott about that.
Okay, that's something
And,
that.
and all developments have stringent
Well, I
stormwater.
understand
This
that, but-
development will have
but
its
he-
own
But he
stormwater
mentioned there's
features.
flooding in one or two of the holes, and I don't know if that was because of the construction that went on some of the newer homes being built. That's a question I'd like to have answered. So that's all right.
Yeah, definitely. I'd suggest reaching out to Scott Krager on that one.
And then, like I said, the biggest thing that jumped out at me was the driveways. I think the setback, I would rather lose 10 feet of trees rather than having all that driveway bleed right into the.
You have to have driveways for the units no matter what. It's a question of just where the driveway is. I mean, every
Well,
unit has to have a driveway, whether
well,
they're shared and it's
Unless you run
bigger,
a separate road in there and.
but they still have to have driveways off that road.
Right, I mean, even if it's cul-de-sacs, you're running 3 houses with one driveway out, or one main road, out. So you do 3 or 4 cul-de-sacs going back and just have it bleed out separately, I don't know. I mean, that's a concern for me. I think that's a concern for the area too. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Any other questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
So Adam, I'm hoping that we heard some good comments from the owner of the golf course, heard some good comments from the resident. I hope we address these, because it's like, how do we resolve those issues?
Yeah, I think the big part is the question of, and maybe Jeff, I don't know if you have any thought on this, is are they rezoning topics or are they site design topics? Because they're significantly different as far as who has jurisdiction over them. Rezoning is the idea of the number of units, the idea that they're 2-family units, the idea that it's so many square feet per unit. That's the rezoning topic. The idea of fine-tuning building location, that's typically a building site operation topic, which would be more of a planning commission. I mean, they can have some overlap, but the zoning doesn't dictate where they're placed.
Is that the setback as well, or is that?
Right.
This,
goes into the second
setback-
part?
If you want to go further setback, that's fine. If you want a reduction, then that's a rezoning component. But if they want to go further, like if the end, they would have put a frontage road in or whatever's being talked about, that's fine because it's more than compliant. They just can't be less than compliant.
And right now, they're putting up, what was it, 9
Nine
units?
buildings.
And they can, and you said they can do up to 13?
They could do significantly more, but then you run into the issue of how much are we going to let them disturb of the trees?
And there was, I intentionally asked the question before we went to the public hearing on this. This property is already zoned to be much more evasive and dense than it is now.
Yeah.
So.
It could have more than double the units possible
So
if it
voting
wasn't
no
rezoned.
on this when it ultimately comes to that could clear cut the whole thing. It's private property. They can do what they want.
Right, right.
You don't have,
Well,
you're
we're
not
gonna work-
entitled to your neybor's view.
Yeah, we want to work with them and,
Right.
and you want to work with
So
the.
I just
with
want to
the
make that
business,
clear
yeah.
that it's not if we don't rezone this doesn't happen.
No, I know, I think Adam made that
Developer
clear
might
at the
make more
beginning.
money by
yeah.
putting more buildings up at that point.
They are asking for a less intense zoning. They want basically saying, let me do less than the zoning says I could today. Now, don't get me wrong, like you said, there's the preservation concerns that you said there's a happy medium there, hopefully. Do you want me to, if there's anything else, comment
Yes,
on,
yeah,
or just
if
let's
you
see here. So I said I'll comment on things that are more factual more than opinion, but as far as the golf balls, as was mentioned, I know that obviously that can be a concern, and I know the tempered glass is a real common thing, as there's a ton of condos on the north side of the course. As far as the question about land being transferred, I know that the legal entity that's involved in the golf course, there were some land swaps that were done previously. They would not impact these condos, but it might impact the parent lot the condos are on. My understanding is the law firm that was working on that has reached out to the county to say, yeah, why aren't the maps updated? Because I guess the documents were all filed and they're working on that. So that's something that does not involve us in any form. It has no bearing on the density or calcs, but it is something I know the county is working with the law firm that did all the transfers on to get it mapped properly and figure out if something wasn't recorded right, why not. But that wouldn't have an impact on the specific area where these units would be. As far as the road, as we mentioned, the question would be with Scott. I'm not an expert on where the utilities can go. I know certain utilities, I was part of some meetings where there's talk about utilities being in a roadway. It's significantly easier to repair them when they're actually in the roadway, believe it or not, than if they're not, especially if you're dealing with non-warm weather repairs. As far as, let's see here, Country Club Lane, it's a public road. The idea of having cars, and I'm not talking about parking now or driveway access, but as far as like deliveries and other condos and stuff there, it's a public road. So there's many public roads that are significantly busier that are built to the same standard.
I just want to pause you at one moment. The question, you made a comment earlier about no parking signs. You can easily state at the beginning and end of the road, no parking this road. You don't have to have them every 10 feet.
That's, I was wondering, okay.
As far as, there was mention about doing any kind of vacation rentals, state law does not allow the city of Muskego to say no to vacation rentals. No one in the city could say no to them. They're basically mayors are say allowed by state law if you meet certain conditions and approvals of the city. And we have no bearing and no impact on the private and covenants of a condo association. So we can't tell them rental, no rental. They could choose that every person could rent theirs out and not have an ownership, even though they're condos. We couldn't say no to that. The city can't dictate ownership versus rental, even if it's short-term rental. If they did short-term, there are ordinances they do have to meet in the city, but we can't say no to it necessarily.
Does the city's ordinances override association?
They're separate from, we can only enforce our rules. So if the
Right, but if we
association
have
says
rules
no,
in- and they
if
have-
someone wants a permit, we have to give them the permit if they meet our criteria.
They can be more stringent, they can't be more lax than our ordinance.
Okay.
And our ordinance can't, it's same with the state. So we can be more lax than the state on vacation rentals, which is just,
Well, we did that update, yeah, I know.
did the update. We're in compliance.
And then as far as businesses go, all homes, condos included in the city of Muskego, are allowed per city ordinance to run a home-based business, which is a very limited kind of business, which they need an approval for. Once again, we couldn't say no to that, but that's very uncommon in condos as they're not really practical, and they would have to meet criteria in the code that's really restrictive, basically where the owners don't know that, neighbors don't even know what's happening. I'm talking things where like someone does paperwork out of their house or maybe a mail order business, things like that are predominantly home-based businesses. That's allowed anywhere in the city right now that's zone residential. I think that was kind of the bulk of the comments that weren't addressed.
All right, thank you.
And there, like I said, we have refined plans, so as part of the Plan Commission packet, which will be available the Friday before the Plan Commission meeting on our website, just like the plans now were available on the website, there's much more fine-tuned plans that will be part of that packet.
What date will this be coming back for our second reading?
I can check my calendar here. Let's see here. So it's going to go to Plan Commission on June 6th, and it will potentially be back here on June 13th.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So if we're just looking at the rezoning, all the engineering tweaks have to take place later, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole road and building position is a good discussion point because maybe that changes something for the developer potentially, and it gives guidance obviously to where everyone else is going to go. But
Okay.
yeah, really, that's
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. As we stated, this will be coming forward possibly later in June for final second reading. Moving on to ordinance 1490, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Muskego, B2 and RS2 to PD-45 Inpro Corporation.
in front of you. I printed out kind of a little basic narrative of Impro's kind of big picture plans. I didn't have them for the packet, but I had them sent, so that's what's copied in front of you. It's basically just talking about the idea that phase one is this parking lot, approximately 159 stalls, kind of on the south end, so it'll be kind of towards the back part of the property, closest to the bike trail, and the front's gonna stay more open because of the existing two homes and the business that are gonna stay there at this time. Unrelated to this, but they reference it in here, is Impro as far as the manufacturing building and the warehousing building goes. They are doing an addition onto that, but that has no impact on this, but you might see that referenced in here. And then 2024 to 2025 is when they are hopeful that they may look at doing further parking lot development and then the possible building. That will be a separate approval when that time would come, at least through the Plan Commission, through the BSO. It would only come back for rezoning if they need some kind of waiver to a setback or offset or something. As far as that one goes, as far as affecting what's there, I guess in my role, what I can speak to is what the future plans say, is that's part of our job, and the future plans on both sides of the road do call for commercial potential. Doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but that's what the forecasted land uses do call for. As far as increased traffic and access to the road, being that Janesville Road is a county highway, the development team knows, I think they've already reached out to, but they will have to on their own reach out to the county highway department, DOT, to determine what is going to happen with the road. County has pretty rigorous standards. I thought I heard at some point there'd probably have to be a traffic impact analysis done. That is not something the city has control over. That is 100% county. So whatever the county requires of them, we're going to agree with and stand behind, but we can't require anything different than the county requires, as it's a county road. So they have sole jurisdiction. They're gonna look at it carefully. Anytime someone does something that increases traffic counts onto a road and or changes it from residential to commercial, which they're both happening here, they're gonna have a whole process and procedure that the county's gonna go through. And then whatever they would come up with as design requirements would have to be implemented here, and they'll need permitting through the county for those access points. So could there be improvements to the road, meaning turn lanes, bypass lanes, whatever? Possibly. I would be extremely surprised if there'd ever be talk of widening the road. I mean, 159 stall parking lot, that's not big in the picture of county road travel. County roads are meant to handle a lot of traffic. I wouldn't be surprised though if there was more involvement with turn lanes and bypass lanes. Those could all be possibilities that are more common. And then as far as what they would have to look at, like I said, for now, the parking lot's going in the very back of the site closest to the bike trail. We will require some landscaping. The two existing homes on the furthest northeast side are staying for now. Wisco Carts is staying for now. So you're pretty much gonna see a driveway and a parking lot in the distance for now. And then there will be an eventual building if their plans pan out. That will have a separate approval process, and that building, if it's any indication of what they've done before, they're talking about a very unique, very beautiful architecturally designed building, which that will come forward to Plan Commission at a separate date.
Any other questions?
Just a quick one. I remember that area when we were doing trails. We didn't, that part is not finished. I think the Impro and the new building in the corner has something there, and then by Walgreens there's something, and then there's nothing in between. We left that for future development for them to do. So is that written into this?
No, because that's not a process of the rezoning. That would be like a BSO site development kind of thing. But yeah, that's something we've already talked about. Inpro, their existing building has a sidewalk that dead ends. You hit the vet office, there's nothing there. There's nothing on these 4 sites. And then the car wash, I believe, does have it, and Walgreens.
Right.
We do trail extensions like this at developers' expense when they build.
Right.
They will be dedicating right away as part of this, which means, yeah, at this initial phase, we would most likely be suggesting, and this will be a Plan Commission discussion item, that they do extend it. There will still be a disconnect by the vet because we can't force them to put a trail in front of their property. But they'll be significantly connected much further at this point.
In front of the vet is a small piece. I mean, maybe at that point we should all talk about that and get it done, because we held back because of the cost. We were putting money into other areas.
We did not expand any of those. Each one is done as the property develops.
Right.
So there could be an issue there with right of way. There might not be right of way for us to even put a trail in if we wanted. That's something that would have to be looked at further.
Okay.
Or something to that extent. But it will be they'll have to do the portion in front of their property.
And that's the only piece that's going to be left in this whole thing will be the vet?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'm sorry, unfortunately, I can't take, you can stick around after the meeting and we can probably answer them, but I can't do it during the meeting. So I just can't, sorry. Any other questions from the alderman? All right. License approvals. Approval of an outside dance permit to Pop's Pub on Pioneer Drive, DBA Pop's Pub on Pioneer, located at West 180 South 7808 Pioneer Drive for the following days from May 24th, 2023 through June 30th, 2023, Sundays to Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., Fridays and Saturdays, 11 a.m. till 10:30 p.m.
Move to approve.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Approval of an outside dance permit to Muskego Area Chamber of Commerce for Jammin' on Janesville event area, June 2nd, 2023, from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Approval of an outside dance permit to Moo Inc., DBA Bass Bay Brewhouse and Eatery / Audmar Banquets, located at South 79 West 15851 Audmar Drive for the following days. Sunday, May 28th, 2023, from 2 p.m. till 9 p.m. Sunday, June 4, 11, and 18, 2023, from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. Sunday, June 25th, 2023, from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. Tuesdays, May 30th, June 6th, 13, 20, and 27, 2023, from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. City officials' reports, we have none. Communications miscellaneous business as authorized by law. Any updates from any of the liaisons? Any future agenda items requests? A motion to adjourn would be in order.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 6:49.